Hmm. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How you going? Hey, it's lovely to see you. And
Hello.
as you can see, I've got Betty with me. This is Barney the Ram. And yeah, Betty, what would you like to talk about today?
Hmm. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na
Oh.
na.
And what
Ha.
was that was about Spanish bullfighting, was it?
No,
It was about Spain though, wasn't it?
it was from Spain. It's
Yeah.
about our heritage.
Ah,
I thought
beautiful.
we'd talk about that.
Okay, righto.
Because we brother and sister. We
Mm-hmm.
both came from Marina, from
Mm-hmm.
Spanish ship.
Ah,
Um,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes. Isn't that wonderful, hey? We're looking here we're looking at us as here we are, Poland
Australians.
and Australia, and and we both came from Spain, and the bloodlines are the Merino from Spain, which is what Betty's talking about. I think that's just wonderful.
Yes, so
Yeah.
we've got common heritage, and you might ask what heritage is.
Mm.
And Barney would know, wouldn't you, Barney?
Heritage, heritage.
Yes, heritage.
Where we came from, the
Hmm.
things that we brought from where we came from, the ancients
Yes,
of days who were
yes,
before us,
yes,
our grandfathers and great grandmothers and our great great and all those who came before us hundreds and even thousands of years ago.
yes.
Yes, so
Millennia,
millennia. Yes, so
millennia.
those are the things that we actually inherit. It's all that culture
That's right.
and all that history, and
Yes.
and even the fact that we are in Australia and our history in Australia is only a couple of hundred years old, but our history that we brought to Australia is thousands of years old, and that's right.
That's right.
Yes, our culture goes back a long way.
Yes,
Mm,
that's what they say. We stand on the shoulders of generations past.
mm, mm.
That is true, isn't it?
It certainly is. It certainly is.
Yes.
Yes.
So I might have come from Carpathian Mountains in the south of Poland, where the cheese was main product of of sheep
I like that. I like the idea of cheese.
shepherding.
I'm a big
Oh,
cheese man.
Oh, it's delicious. It's a little oblong-shaped cheese,
Mhm.
and it's smoked. It's delicious.
Ah,
Mm.
yes,
Anyway,
yeah, that sounds lovely.
I am definitely Australian now.
Mm.
Hmm.
I'm pleased you came to Australia too, because you certainly keep me good company. Eh? You look after me very well. No worries. And talking about, okay, our culture and our history and the things that we brought with us, as our audience can see, there's this lovely backdrop of a raised bed and
Mm.
a little herb garden behind us, and I think that that's just beautiful. What do you think?
Yes, I speaking of heritage, I'm immediately thinking of Saint Hildegard of Bingen.
Ah, St.
12th
Hildegard.
centuries, 12 abbess
Yeah.
in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
um, who um, who was a herbalist,
Mm-hmm.
and she had such an incredible insight
Mm.
into healing powers of human body,
Mm.
and she apparently realized or knew or was inspired by divine force
Mm-hmm.
about the blood circulation.
Okay.
That the fact which was not discovered for centuries.
Mm.
So it was only, I think, 400 years later that the fact was actually discovered that the blood circulates. Because the doctors of early ages would cut the cadavers, would cut the dead body
Mm-hmm.
rather than learn from living body.
Mm.
So that's where the mistake laid.
Yeah, that's always a bit.
Anyway,
that's always a bit of a problem because I notice I've got this thing about butchers and knives, and I tend to just get this whole
So
oh
do I.
no, not
So do
this,
I.
and so I can understand that people weren't too happy about being cut open while they were still alive. So it's pretty hard. Unless, of course, you've been so anaesthetised that you don't know any difference. But the trouble is that the doctors have to stitch you up, and I don't know if they knew. I think that's where Frankenstein came from, because it's just, we'll look at them like that, but it doesn't take into account the fact that you're a living being and you're a whole being, and we're a process. We're actually a process, and I actually wanted to touch on that today.
Mm,
The process, our actual the living organism called the human being, and our relationship with the world, with nature, and the fact that we look at the herbs behind us and we realize that each one of these herbs, each one of them, is a little cup of blessing. It's got a gift to give to our bodies, and that gift feeds the. We did it last week. The microbiome, microbiome, and
mm,
and and also, of course, the mycorrhizal fungi in the soil,
mm,
and the microzemas. Is that right? So there's all these microscopic relationships between the plants, the soils, the sun, photosynthesis of the sun, converting light energy into food, and in the case of the gases in the air, carbon dioxide, absorbing carbon dioxide, I might add, carbon dioxide being a food for plants, absorbing carbon dioxide. So if you have a hothouse and you introduce extra carbon dioxide into the hothouse, you actually make plants grow more prolifically. And I think that's just wonderful. When you think about it, you think all these things, we have to actually look at them and think about them. Don't listen to what people say, look at them and think about them. And if you can make a plant grow more by increasing the carbon dioxide around it, hello, isn't that answering a question about the amount of food that's there, the abundance of the food? There is so much there. And so we've actually got to engage.
yes.
Betty.
I don't think we need to go to Paris. We just might need to have few more hothouses, a better soil preparation,
Hmm.
and start bringing back the method that the grandfather used.
That's right. That's right. I look at
Mm,
this raised bed, and I'm pretty sure if we look hard, we can see some mulch on the top. Some mulch,
yes,
and the mulch, of course, provides a little microclimate for the top of the soil, and that
yeah,
microclimate is ideal for the mycorrhizal fungi and the microzemas, and it feeds the plant, and then it feeds my microbiome. Look, I'm getting good at this. This is really good. I'm,
bravo.
I'm quite good at this. The microbiome, it keeps feeding me. And that to me is just wonderful. If I can engage with nature, if I can engage with the world around, and I can use the lessons of my
The
culture,
past.
the
Mm,
lessons of the past, and place them into today's environment. And then, of course, because there's more knowledge even today, we build from the past, don't we? We build from it and we move forward.
yes,
We're not static. We're continuing to take into account the history, our heritage, the knowledge of before, and then build on from it. And that really is what culture is about, isn't it? You know, you talked about
yes,
heritage and where you came from, where I came from, and it comes back from Western Europe, and there's so much culture and heritage for us to inherit. And I think that's just beautiful. What do you
It
think?
is.
It
It
is.
is beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. I agree. It's a wonderful world that we live in, and we just have to open our eyes and look around and engage with it and to think. We have to think. We can't just stop thinking. We have to continue to
Mhm.
think. And the thing is about I read this somewhere and it's about the inductive scientific method or the deductive. And I think it's interesting because it's Bacon who said the inductive scientific method. If you come up with a theory and one thing makes the theory fail, then the theory is no good. But if you continue to build on the theory, on the theorem, and you say, okay, well, this one thing makes that theorem fail, I've got to come up with a new theorem. And I think that's very important because if we look at the green, lush green herb garden behind us, and the theorem is that if we add more CO2 to the environment, then the plants grow more prolifically, then that puts paid to a lot of this nonsense.
Mhm.
A lot of this nonsense about what's going on about CO2. CO2 is not a pollutant. CO2 is a food for plants. And if it's food for plants, then it's food for us. And I think that's just wonderful. We've got to think. We can't just
Mhm.
take for granted. I think it's interesting because someone once said to me about it was about politicians, but it was also about scientists and it's also about priests. And it is that they are the modern priesthood. We have to believe them even if we don't think. And that's the problem. We have to think. We have to think. If they say something and we know it's nonsense, well then say it's nonsense because it is. We have to think. We just can't. They're only people like us, no better, no worse. And they can say some silly things at times, and it shows in my mind that they're not even thinking. So there you go. What do you think, Betty?
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I think that's a good lot for us for today, and I'd like to thank our audience for coming in and watching us in our herb garden and enjoying the circle of life with Betty and BahArnie. Have a lovely day.
Bye.